Undoubtedly, in this cycle, the SUI token, SUI, is winning altcoin of the 2025 bull run. Just take a look at how quickly it bounced back from the weekend market crash, which was very sudden and very abrupt. But again, the recovery has been very impressive. It really, however, is the SUI ecosystem that's flourishing more than most. And so in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a particular SUI gem that is very close to its token generation event, which of course represents an early opportunity in crypto. Miston Labs, as you may know, is the team behind SUI. And even if they only built and maintained the project, they would be considered successful. But they're doing much more than that, of course. They're also the team behind a few of the most successful ecosystem projects. SUI is off and running, but some of the team's newer projects are doing just as well, and they're just getting started. One of the most recent is decentralized storage solution, Walrus, and it does things that currently no other storage solution can. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie and this is Altcoin Buzz. Still battling that flu, so apologies for the raspy voice, but I do wish you all the best of luck if you choose to invest. Just remember that I'm not a financial or investment advisor, which means, of course, by extension, that this video is not official financial or investment advice. Really, it's a pretty simple thesis for a lot of investors in crypto, right? We have to consider that great builders, by extension, build great products. Great products get users naturally and organically, and then users show the utility of the project by using it and recommending changes where needed, improvements. The project then gets better with more and more feedback, and all the added value is reflected in the token. And we have seen this before. There are great teams at places like Uniswap, Aave, Chainlink, Solana, just to name a few. And the Miston Labs team that's built SUI is no exception. They're also the team behind DeepBook and Walrus. DeepBook had its mainnet launch back in October. It's already in its V3, adding a lot of value and DeFi liquidity for SUI users. Its launch was a resounding success, really in terms of both the product and the token. And as you may know, the reality is that sometimes the product sucks, but the token still runs, or vice versa. The product is amazing, but the token falters for whatever reason. Thankfully, that's not the case here. SUI ecosystem users love using DeepBook, and the token has done more than a 10x since October in just a few short months. Betting on great teams is generally an easy way to get an edge in this market, as long as you've validated and vetted that team. And of course, the team behind SUI and DeepBook is also the team behind Walrus, like I mentioned. So what is Walrus exactly? Well, it's a decentralized data protocol. And for reasons that we're going to explore in just a second, many people actually believe that it's going to unseat Filecoin as the leader in decentralized data storage. That is a pretty significant statement because keep in mind that Filecoin is already a $2 billion project. Cloud storage and spending, such as with AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, has gotten actually pretty expensive. And the SaaS sector, which is one of the biggest in tech really, is also one of the biggest spenders. They spend up to 50% of their total cost of revenue on cloud services. Plus, the cloud is centralized, meaning it has single points of failure, and you generally have no idea what Amazon or Google is doing with the data that they're storing for you. Walrus represents a better solution. Now, first let's talk about blobs. These are large pieces of unstructured data, and that can mean huge multimedia images, large backup files, or even data logs that software developers need to see where errors and bugs may occur. Filecoin and others actually have a tough time storing blobs. Even NFT metadata, which is Filecoin's expertise, is stored more simply and more easily on Walrus. With decentralized storage, you truly own your data. It's actually one of the big selling points of Web3 in the first place, and Walrus is more resilient than both centralized, but also even other decentralized data providers. And that's because if any nodes go down, your data is still accessible to you. And that's not so true if, hypothetically, AWS were to have an outage, which is a major advantage for Walrus in this matchup. The Walrus system is more efficient too, and that's thanks to SUI and the Move programming language. And by storing the info, the data as objects, blobs, and other data as well are easier to manage and are more scalable. This Altcoin Buzz Spotlight video is all about Walrus Protocol. It is also sponsored by Walrus Protocol, which has the fastest solution for data storage on the market today. Of course, it's from the team behind SUI, and it's a potential Filecoin killer because it does, quite frankly, a lot of things that Filecoin cannot. One thing is that it's so resilient that even with only a few nodes operating, your data availability won't be affected. Decentralized data storage on Walrus is solving a pretty big problem that many blockchains suffer from. That's poor coordination, and it affects you more than you may realize. Walrus protocol has some pretty big advantages with SUI and the Move programming language over other decentralized data providers. The problem, as they see it, is coordination. That's making sure if a protocol does three things, that those things work seamlessly with each other. Also, the protocol needs to work with other projects in the ecosystem and with the blockchain infrastructure, like validators. Listen to SUI co-founder here, Adeneyin Abiodun, describe the problem and how Walrus is part of the solution.
The best platform for you to use to solve your coordination problem, because it comes with a lot of features that you already need out of the box, is SUI. And that's not just because, you can write a smart contract and it does stuff. That's one thing, of course, right? But also if we take the example, let's say again, of Walrus, even the things that are not in SUI, right? Let's say the storage nodes that are separate from SUI, they still need to coordinate with each other. And our best bet, we believe, is to coordinate through SUI, right? To say, well, look, okay, we're all going to be reading and writing state from SUI, doing transactions, reading state, expressing things as resources when it makes sense, and that drives effectively that off-chain infrastructure.
Right now, Walrus is finishing up its testnet. The mainnet and the WAL Token launch are coming soon. If you want to stay updated on the latest testnet progress and other news, make sure to follow Walrus Protocol's X account and all the other appropriate socials. So storing big files is one of Walrus's major advantages. And a great use case for this is AI LLMs, large language models, that's what I'm talking about. And you can liken this to OpenAI's 0.1 model, for example. These models are big files, as you probably may expect. And Walrus can store them for a provider, such as OpenAI, to create decentralized access to those models. And this makes Walrus a part of decentralized AI infrastructure kind of by default. And that's something that we desperately need right now, because otherwise we run the risk of giving all our data away for free, again, like we did with social media platforms over the course of the last 10 to 15 years. We haven't seen any other Web3 storage provider be able to provide these kinds of services in the same way that Walrus can. Walrus is also chain agnostic, meaning here you can use any chain and any app.
Developer working on Solana or Ethereum, let's say, could use Walrus purely as storage without changing anything about their application. They would simply store resources on Walrus directly or using a publisher, which again doesn't require changing your application at all. And then they would simply take the address of that resource on Walrus, which looks like a normal web URL, and point basically their dApp to that address, wherever they would otherwise just point to a normal Web2 service or IPFS or any alternative service.
These two factors alone really do put Walrus miles ahead of the competition. And look, we're going to admit that we like this sector generally. We also like Arweave in particular. And I'll go even further. I'll say that personally, I think it's an excellent project. But objectively speaking, Arweave cannot do the things that Walrus can. One of Walrus's recent partnerships is with Tusky, who made this migration from Arweave to Walrus for these exact reasons that we're discussing now. Tusky is looking to become kind of the Dropbox of Web3. Their CEO, Pascal Berry, said Walrus is, quote, a more cost-effective and versatile solution. And that's without sacrificing security or scalability. Now, during testnet, you only got the testnet versions of the WAL token to play around with. But what we can look forward to now, imminently, is the Walrus mainnet and TGE token generation event, which are coming soon. And here's what you can reasonably expect. So Walrus is going to be using a delegated proof of stake or DPoS system to manage governance on the chain. And that means you're going to be able to use the WAL token for things like staking, for storage payments and pricing discounts, and for governance. Walrus nodes take advantage of sharding, which we know is a future goal of Ethereum. ETH wants it for better scalability, but by contrast, Walrus already has it. The WAL token is coming out soon, so you should definitely keep an eye out for that. And then as we were discussing earlier, the DEEP token, that's DEEP from the same team, and similar launch trajectory, has done really, really well so far. It's done a 4x in the last 3 months. We're looking here at the last 90 days. And although there are two great competitors for data storage in Web3 in the form of Filecoin and Arweave, again, Walrus can do things at a technical level that neither of them can. It is going to be a leader in the decentralized storage sector very, very soon in our estimation. And we also expect to see it as a leading SUI, a leading SUI ecosystem project in the very near future.